Hey Zwifters, we're back with another Zwift Racing League Recon video. This is going to be race 4 of the round, and it's going to be the Sprinters Playground course in McCurry Islands. Many of you who have raced Zwift Racing League before know that this route is not new. We have raced this course quite a few times actually. I feel like one time in a couple seasons ago, and it was a very exciting race to see, and there were a lot of tactics that were used to win this race. This race, as the name suggests, is a course for the sprinters. We've got 4 sprint segments: the railway forward sprint, tower reverse sprint, castle park reverse sprint, alley reverse sprint, and we're going to be doing all of those 3 times. So there are lots of points to be gotten here because we are going to be doing 3 laps of this course, and there will be 3 power-ups in use as usual: the drafting boost, the arrow boost, and the ghosting power-up. So in terms of distance, it's going to be 3 laps, and as I already stated, so it's going to be 37.3 kilometers and 23.2 miles, and there's going to be 202 meters of elevation gain, which is around 662 feet of elevation gain. And unlike most of the races that are around this long, all the categories will be racing the same distance. So categories C and D will not have a shorter race than A and B. So now on to bike choice. Bike choice is pretty simple on this course because, as I stated earlier, it is a course for the sprinters, which means it is going to be a pretty flat course, so a aero frame and aero wheel set is going to be the best setup for this race. So the best thing to do is to follow the Zwift Insider Fastest Bikes guide that I have linked below in the description, and then that will basically tell you which bike is going to be fastest on this course. Tron will, as usual, be a good choice, but the Venge S-Works with GT Swiss disc is going to be the fastest. That's it for bike choice. Now back to the Recon. So the lead-in to this course is pretty simple, and the lead-in will finish at the holographic kind of banner kind of thing that you'll see when you hit around that half-mile mark, and that's when you know that you have started the route. So pretty much around 1 mile or around 1.6 kilometers into the race, you will see the first sprint, and that will be the tower sprint, and that sprint will probably be around 15 to 20 seconds depending on your category. That will be the first opportunity for points, and I think that we could see some riders try to go all out from the pens and just try to hold on until the finish of that sprint, while all the other riders are still settling into the group. The next sprint will be less than 1.5 Ks after the first sprint, which was the tower sprint, and that will be the castle park sprint, which is around the same length as the tower sprint. So after that, you will head up some cobbled roads, and it is a slight incline, so it is a great chance for those who are not sprinting to try to catch back up. And if you don't catch up by around this point, you likely will be dropped for the rest of the race. And that is because you hit this slight descent, and the speed of group packs on Zwift is insanely higher than the speeds of a solo rider trying to catch back on. So you definitely need to catch back on before you hit that descent. And then literally right after that, you'll hit the next sprint, which is the alley sprint. The alley sprint is a pretty long sprint, I'd say, and it is going to be the second longest sprint for the day. The longest sprint is going to be the railway sprint, but the alley sprint is going to be close to 30 seconds, maybe around 20 to 25 for the top riders on the platform. And after that, again, there will be a short incline, which is going to be a good opportunity for those off the back to catch back up. Now, pretty much the same thing that I said earlier, you gotta catch back up at the top of this climb, because right after that is a descent, and group packs are too fast on the descent, I think, and there's just a really small chance of catching back up. After that, there will be quite a bit of calm roads. It's going to be a few rollers here and there, up to around 1 to 2%, but nothing too serious, so you're really just going to want to sit in here and save your energy, because I'd say that the second half of the course is the hardest part. First half will be tough with those sprints, but it only gets tougher from here. Now, while it may not seem that tough, it definitely is when you take into account the 30 to 40 second sprint that is coming up. So right here you're going to see around 5% incline, and that's going to take you up to the railway area, and that's going to bring you up to the upper part of Nyokyo. It is a short incline, but you will definitely need to expect to see some riders pushing the pace. So maybe some riders even trying to go for that sprint really early on to try to get a gap on the rest of the group. On this little stretch, you will see the green marker, which marks the start of the alley sprint. I'd say that the top riders will be completing it in probably around 28 or 30 seconds at the fastest, and most riders will be around 35 seconds to 40 seconds. So definitely be ready for a really long sprint there. The best way to take on that sprint is probably to be near the back of the group and kind of use that slingshot effect and just hold on to the riders in front of you, and then in those final 5 seconds just give it everything you have left. After that, there will be some time to regroup, but not a whole lot, because you're going to go straight for probably around a mile before making that descent back into the lower grounds of Nyokyo, which will eventually take you back to the finish. You can see here that there are a few rollers here, but it's not going to be any major climbs that you're going to need to worry about. So here's that descent back into the main area that I talked about earlier. I don't think it's going to be quite steep enough for most of the riders to super tuck. Maybe the high-end riders in category A will be able to super tuck for a split second, but I just recommend pedaling very softly there just to save some extra energy before the finish, which is coming up soon. There is quite a long straightaway where you will have time to kind of recover and gear up for that finish. And something that I remember seeing in the previous Zwift Racing race is attacks in the arcade. That is a pretty big threat because it's kind of hard to see in that arcade because there are so many lights going on. So one rider could easily slip off the front, and I tend to see the groups get pretty strung out in the arcade. So definitely watch out for attacks in the arcade, because that could determine whether you are the winner or the loser. So this is typically a pretty long sprint. Riders typically underestimate the length of the sprint and they go far too early, and then they end up blowing up towards the finish and getting passed by the riders who were just kind of drafting and then put in a huge kick at the end. That's going to round out for this Zwift Racing Recon. Good luck and ride on.